So, Danny Flexen for Seconds Out here with Joshua Buatsi. How's everything going?
What's happening, Danny? I'm cool, man. I just literally got back in from a walk. And when I was walking, I was talking to my mate, and I was just saying that this is on the phone, by the way, Dan. Before you start panicking,
Yeah,
I was just saying to him that training has changed. Training is like more of an outdoor thing now. You know, running, cycling, walking, everything's outdoor now. So it's a big change because obviously boxing is indoors, like you do sparring, the bags and everything. But because of the social distancing, you can't be sparring anyone doing pads. You can't be in a packed gym. So for me, it's all been outdoors at the moment.
have you got a bag or anything at home or outside in the garden or anything like that?
I don't know, but I'm expecting one this week actually. So Everlast are gonna send me one. Hopefully I've said it on here, so that means they will definitely send it.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully one will come to my house this week.
We're used to seeing you like shave your beard on the week of the fight. I'm guessing it's going to be a lot longer this time.
Imagine that. But when this is all over, I think the best place for me to go straight away is the barbers. Then, like, I think I haven't had a haircut for about a month now, and this is the state that I'm in. So I don't know how long it's going to carry on for. But the first place I've got to find myself at is at the barbers.
Yeah, I've seen people on social media saying barbers should be classified as essential workers.
Key workers, they are a key worker. But hey, it is what it is, man.
You were supposed to fight on the March 28th show at the O2.
Yeah.
How long before that show took place did you know you weren't going to be, or the show wasn't going to be taking place?
I think it was probably 2 weeks before then. Yeah, 2 weeks because I was sparring in that week one, which was it was basically the week before. Yeah. So because I was going to spar when I got a phone call. So yeah, I had done camp for about 10 to 11 weeks of training I had done, and then that's when I found out. Um, but as I've said, when always asked, it's something that the whole world is experiencing. So it's not just me, or it's not just British fighters. It's the whole world. So you can't personalize it to anyone.
And it's kind of delayed your kind of opportunities a little bit as well. You seem to be on the verge
Yeah.
of a world title shot, certainly highly ranked with a couple of the governing bodies. I know
Yeah.
Baturbiev was supposed to be fighting Fan Long Meng first in China, then in the US. That's now been postponed twice as well. Do you
Yeah.
feel it's kind of a blessing in disguise that you're still quite early in your career, still quite fresh? You've got the time to lose, whereas someone like Baturbiev perhaps hasn't.
Yeah, Dan, I think for me again, it's just about on the phone call with my mate, the one thing I mentioned to him is about staying positive. And that's one thing I said, man. Like whatever situation I'm in, I'm just trying to make something positive out of it. And you know, right now I can't box, but I've actually got into cycling. So that I'm gonna add that to my training. There's different methods of training that I've had to start to do during this period because of everything. But I'm gonna take that on into my new training schedule. So in terms of is it the delay, is it benefiting me? I'm much younger than most of the champions in my weight category, that's for sure. So I guess if you're looking at it in terms of age, you could be like, okay, Buatsi is the youngest, and that's cool. But it's boxing, man. The age matters, but no one knows when that clock's gonna turn. So when it's gonna turn from being a young man to an old man. So you take nothing for granted.
Obviously, Meng's the mandatory, and he'll presumably get his shot when boxing resumes. You'll then probably, I mean, it's all kind of hypothetical at the moment, but you'll then probably
Yeah,
drop into one of the mandatory positions yourself, which means theoretically you're about a year, a little bit more than a year away from that world title shot. Is that a good time frame
yeah.
for you, do you think?
Um, Talking now, I'd say it sounds about right. That's my perspective. But as respected, I will hear what my trainer thinks because that's kind of why I've got a trainer with their experience. They should be able to tell me you are learning what's necessary, or actually a few more fights, and then you may be ready. So yeah, man. For me, I think as long as I'm improving, and I have to improve, and I feel like I said, I've always said to people, man, long as I'm 100%, then I feel that's good enough to beat these guys. You have to get the timing right, of course, and kind of is a chord that I think my trainer would be like, you know what, you are picking up these skills, off you go. So I just got to do my part, really.
Do you feel that anyone as a pro so far has tested you to the same level as you were challenged as an amateur?
Um, nah, because the amateurs, you box the number ones of each country straight away. I've boxed people, but they haven't necessarily been number one in the country or anything. And actually, during this period, I've watched some of the Olympic fights that I had and other fighters, and I'm just thinking it's just a different ball game. Than 3 rounds is a sprint. The gloves are much bigger in the amateurs. Pro now, it's like the gloves are small. Everyone's dangerous, and there's 12 rounds to actually dispatch someone. So yeah, no, it's just a different ball game. It's a whole different experience. I look back now and I'm thinking, damn, the 3 rounds was so easy. I should have just done more than I was doing. And I look at it now and I'm like, I've got 12 rounds. The training is harder. There's so much more to process in, but it's a journey that I'm enjoying.
Is it fair to say then that this stage in your pro journey, you're maybe learning more in the gym and in sparring specifically than you are in the ring at times?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think my last fight was the longest I've been, and that was 7 rounds. So in that aspect, I'm like, okay, yeah, I've done 7 rounds. So that was a box to tick off against a durable opponent. Um, but yeah, a lot of learning is being done in the gym. But I'm not complaining or saying anything about it because the time will come where I have to show these things that I've been learning. So for me, it's just about making sure when that time comes, I can display what I've been learning in the gym. So yeah, man, when you box and you take someone out in a round, okay, the fight lasted a round, but the weeks and weeks that I spent in camp, I learned a lot. But yeah, like I said, man, I'm guessing that the time and opportunity will come where I have to display these things. So I'll be more than ready. Sorry, something just come up.
No, that's all right. Tell us some of the guys that you've sparred that where you feel that you've learned something from them.
Good question, Dan. So when I go to Sheffield, I tend to pop into Sheffield to spar the GB boys. With them, it's a constant learning process with me. There's the great guys there that I spar: Chevron Clark, Ben Whitaker, George Grotty. I spar a Scottish midweight called Sean. Basically, all the 75s, the 81s, Lewis Richardson,
Yeah.
Lewis Williams. There's so many of them that I spar. And it's just a constant learning curve for me, man. Their pace is totally different to mine. But in terms of professionals, a guy that I learned a lot from that, I used to enjoy sparring, and I'm gutted he's retired now, was George Groves. It was just good sparring him because he had operated at that level, and it was just good to share a ring with him and to do many, many rounds that I enjoyed, man. I learned from just working with him and watching him spar as well. I've seen him spar a few rounds, but being in there with him, I was learning on the job, and certain things that happen, it's stuck with me. And even when you're sparring someone, you're kind of learning because you're thinking, okay, this is how he's dealing with what I'm trying to do. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I learned a lot from sparring Groves. Groves is probably the only professional that I sparred a lot with. That's why I can say Groves, like, do you know what I mean? And even now, like, he's inactive as a fighter, but he would keep in touch and say, listen, if there's anything you want to know, I'm here and available. So I do appreciate that.
You mentioned your visits to Sheffield. I've obviously seen you up there a couple of times as well when we've been doing stuff
Yeah.
with the GB squad. How beneficial is that for your development? Not just seeing all the coaches and the setup there, the facilities are second to none at the EIS, but also working with those young, hungry amateurs who are aiming for the Olympics.
Yeah, for me, it's good. Like you said, they're aiming for the Olympic Games. They're always sharp. They never have a bad day. And yeah, sparring three, four of them is a different ball game to sparring just one of them for 12 rounds because they don't do that. So it's good to get a few of them in there. And like you said, young, hungry fighters that have high ambitions that are aspiring to do well and to get an Olympic medal. So every session is good and it's hard. Every round is hard. And competitive rounds, Dan. That's one thing up there. Every round is competitive. Every second, every minute is competitive. So there's no easy way. So for me, it's very essential to get to a certain part of camp where it's constant every day and it pays off. You get the results you want.
The coaches there speak very highly of you as well, particularly in terms of the time you give to some of the amateurs, talking to them, guiding them. doing little talks about your own experiences and how they can relate. Is that something you've always kind of wanted to do, to kind of share your own experiences for the greater good?
Yeah, then I feel that's what you want to do, like pass it on for those that are coming to kind of get further than you did, do better than you did. And for me, I just say to them that I was in the team just for 2 years and I got a bronze medal. And I say, you guys are much more talented than I am. You've got talent in abundance. Some of the guys there, and some of the things they do, I probably wouldn't be able to do. And I'm thinking, I managed to get a bronze medal. So I say to them, you've been on here longer. You're much more talented. You work hard. You're gonna get a medal. This is what I say to them. So I just try to emphasize the fact that with the little I had, I made something of it, and they can do the same thing with the more that they have. So yeah, we just remain optimistic, and yeah, man, that's it. There's no point being negative about it. Just dwell on the positives and work hard with it.
And talking of Olympic medalists, obviously AJ trains up in Sheffield as well. Do you guys get to catch up much?
Yeah, we do. I wouldn't say quite ironically, I wouldn't say it's really during camp,
Okay.
because it's like I'm coming in to spar guys that are not his weight category. So it's of no use to him being there. When he's sparring, these are big guys. I'm not sparring, I'm not training. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, we catch up. Even at times like this, I spoke to him yesterday and today. I was just asking him a few questions, and just dropping knowledge about different topics that we were talking about. So yeah, it's more like I like to speak to someone when I think they've got time. And when it's camp, I can be the same. I can be quite hard to get hold of. So when someone is in a training camp, I'm the last guy to be trying to pest them or to ask them a million questions, because that's not their focus. When you're in camp and you know there's a dates that you're working towards, you become not overwhelmed, but that's all you think about then, and you don't think about anything else. So I just give a man space when they're in camp, and when they're out of camp, I'm like, yeah, this is what I want to ask. This is what I want to know. Let's talk about it.
Do you feel that Baturbiev is the best in your weight in the world at the moment?
But if you talk about belts, he's got 2 of the 4. So if you're looking at belts, you could say, yeah, he is. You could argue that Bivol is. I would like to elaborate more on it, but it's like I don't watch these guys enough to actually say who I think is the better fighter. And yeah, I don't watch them that much, so I can't really say much about it. To be fair, I know that Beterbiev had a very good amateur career. I think Bivol probably did as well, but I don't think Bivol boxed in like the Olympics and stuff like that, like Beterbiev did. Both Russian fighters, and that's kind of as much as I know about them.
A lot of people have been talking on social media for quite a while now about potential domestic clashes for you against Anthony Yard and against Callum Johnson.
Yeah.
Are you kind of keen to get that kind of domestic rivalry, the likes of kind of Froch Groves and things like that in the past?
Yeah, I feel watching the previous ones that you've mentioned, when you like watching a Froch and Groves, a Hay and Bellew, you're thinking, wow, look at the magnitude of this. It must be insane to be involved in it. Do you know what I mean? And I think most fighters would want to be in something of that sort, because the attention that it brings, and as fighters, you want to box and you want as much eyes as possible to watch you fight. So yeah, like Yard, Johnson, like I've said before, it's not even like there's a pinpoint to either of them or other fighters. I just made it clear that when I had the British title, you're number 1 in the country, so you're indicating that you will beat anyone in Britain in your weight category. So it wasn't even to say, oh yeah, Yard and Johnson, I pinpoint them, so I want to fight them. Do you know what I mean? There was no pinpointing. Having said that, I do think Yard and Johnson, they're top guys in Britain at light heavyweight. Yeah, I'll put them highly at the top.
And talking of Yard, I'm sure you heard the incredibly sad news that he lost 2 family members to the coronavirus pandemic. Obviously, natural rivalry aside, your heart must presumably go out to him.
Yeah, the rivalry and boxing's out the window when it comes to stuff like that, man. It's well out the window to lose your dad and a grandparent within a week. Like, not even like to say, oh, within the span of 2-3 years, but within a week, it doesn't get any worse than that. So like boxing's out the window. And yeah, I hope him and his family are doing well, man.
And just before we let you go, you've been touted as a real hot prospect for a couple of years now. Everyone's really high on your talents. How do you assess your own abilities, and where do you think the gaps are that you need to improve on before you get to that very top level?
Good question. I feel in terms of my ability, I think for most fighters that it's the person you try to impress the most is your coach. Because sometimes I think, does this guy even think I'm learning? Or does he sit down and think, Buatsi, what the hell are you doing? Do you know what I mean? So when I'm doing things, I'm trying to do it so that my coach can be like, this guy's doing exactly what I told him to do. He's listening, he's improving. And that's how I kind of assess my ability. So after a fight, if my coach is like, you boxed well, like, you looked all right, then I'll take it. But if he was like, that was pants, Buatsi, what was that? Then I'd go home and think, damn, like all the training.
I can't imagine Mark saying pants. not in that context, anyway.
No, Dan, trust me, Mark is very like, that was good or that was terrible. Like,
oh no, I just that word. Like, I imagine it would be a lot more like foul mouthed.
Exactly, yeah. But I'm just covering up with pants. But nah, and I think with that is the most important thing is to have someone that can be true to you and tell you what they honestly think about it. But yeah, I think 2.5 years in, with this happening, I was kind of delayed it, getting up to 3 years soon. I think I've done okay. And in terms of things that I can improve on, there's a whole range of things that I would list, and you might laugh at me, but I feel there's so much in this boxing game that I need to improve on, that I need to even start doing. But that's what makes me hungry, and that's what keeps me hungry, knowing that there's so much that I have to do. So that's kind of what will keep me going.
Brilliant. Well, I really appreciate your time. I know everyone's got a wide expanse of time at the moment, but it still means a lot that you've shared some of it with us.
Where am I rushing to then? there's nothing to do, do you know what I mean? I was out on the walk, but I'm back now. But yeah, no, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate that.
Anytime. And if this goes on for much longer, I'm sure we'll have you on again before it's all over.
For sure, man. No worries, man. Keep safe with your family, and hopefully I'll see you soon, mate.
Same to you. Take care, mate.
Thank you, man. Respect. Thank you.